Next, we've got Jesus walking on water, where they see him in the distance. And they think it's a ghost at first, and then he says, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." Um, and I think a lot of people on this next part think that Peter is like testing Jesus. Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, "Tell me to come out on the water." He says, "Come." Um, but in I think it's chapter 4, where you learn not to put Jesus to the test. And I don't believe that's what Peter's doing, because he's the only one of them that decided to actually step out on the water. Now, he did get scared and look down, but he did have some faith, enough faith to step out on the water with him, more than the other disciples. So I think that's something that we can learn from, is even a little faith just like that can go a long way. But we should work on having complete faith and not believing that you're doing it yourself. When he looks down and he's either thinking he's doing it himself, or he's not completely relying on Jesus, that's when everything goes wrong. And I think we can apply that to every day. Like, we need to be putting Jesus first in everything and always looking to him no matter what we're going through.
I actually this is one of my favorite passages because you know, I feel that sometimes this kind of like this in a way like illustration of how Peter is trying to walk towards Jesus, and then he loses his kind of like he loses the focus on Jesus, and then he starts sinking, right? And and I feel sometimes like, you know, we sometimes are like that in real life, right? Like, you know, we start not focusing on Jesus, maybe entertained by things of life, right? Everything is good when everything is good, right? And then you forget about God in a way, and then like you start sinking and falling away, right? um and also when things get like tough, right? You know, like what do, right? And it was like refocus on Jesus. Like, so you won't sink, right? So I always like to think about this scenario where, like, you know, like Peter is walking on water, you know, and then he stops. I guess he gets scared. What is it? Peter got down off the boat and he wait where is where he actually he gets scared of the wind, and when he climbed the boat.
Matthew's more direct than the other ones, or like less details. So it's probably in what you're thinking of, is probably in Mark or John.
Oh yeah, right here. Then Peter got down of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink, and cried out to the Lord, "Save me!" Right. So it's kind of like, you know, whatever situation you're in, right? Like it gets tough, and out of nowhere, instead of you, you know, going to Jesus, you actually go on your own way of trying to fix things, and you get scared, and you're like, "No, no, no!" Like, you know, and then the Lord is like, you know, like comes out, and then you cried out to the Lord. Like it's just like so illustration of how actually how we think as you know, as persons. Like now, like, you know, everything is good when it's good, and as soon as things get hard, like you lose focus and like you start sinking, right? So I love this illustration of, you know, that was the story, not a story, but like the account of what happened and how can apply it in your life now. So it's pretty nice.
I like to connect this. A few chapters back, I think it was Diego or like Adam that mentioned when you start walking. You remember the temptations, like start like when we start our journey as a Christian, and we get temptations, and I like to just reflect on that whenever we're starting and like we're walking, and we're strong, and we have this conviction, and then problems started to just like appear. We see suddenly people hating on us for no reason. We see um, like even our family starts like seeing us weird. we see that people also try to just like stay away from us, and then it makes you feel alone in a way that you start doubting and you feel that sinking kind of like feeling. We see Peter over here perfectly, walking. He made some steps, and he didn't sink. He had that conviction, but then when you see the wind, that pretty much reflects our problems. When we start like seeing the problems and we lose sight of what Jesus, he's actually trying to tell us over here. He's saying, don't be afraid, take courage. He just gave you the answer. But then the noise, the background noise starts just like, pretty much like I would say that it just like shifts our focus on other things, because that's what the enemy wants. He wants you to just focus on other things, and Jesus saying, walk toward me. And like a couple of chapters back, I actually mentioned that Jesus said that take on his yoke because it's lighter. And we have this whole like baggage with problems and stuff. It's going to be so hard to just walk on this path of faith. So just start focusing on him. He's going to lead you. He's going to guide you. He's actually saying over here, take courage and don't be afraid. Keep walking. Sometimes, when we are so tired and so fixed into life and like the things of the world and stuff, it's so hard to walk these days. And like, you start meditating on the work of Jesus and the way he actually just lived, every time he was just like giving words of wisdom. And what happened when he just confronted a situation, he pretty much withdraw and just like started praying outside, like not with everybody. And don't get me wrong, praying in group is actually really good, but sometimes we need to do that. We need to withdraw and just like have that time to just like grow our faith, to become to get to a point that we can walk and not sink. So it is pretty much that every day, we see that. And this was actually what I was talking a few moments back. This is another test of faith, the same as the one that we saw when we wrote about the multiplication. So these are tests of faith. He's preparing them, especially Peter. He later on you will see what happens with Peter, that he makes a huge mistake, and even Jesus is saying, "You're gonna do this." But he's convicting. He's like, no, I'm going to rely on my knowledge. I'm not going to give a spoiler, but yeah, he's pretty much like saying, I will do it. And I will just, with my strength, I will just like do it. But no, Jesus said, no, you're going to fail. I know you're going to fail. So every test of faith as Christians is going to give you, is going to pretty much lead us to the other level. But unless we don't pass that, God is going to keep giving you that test until you pass it. And that's the mercy of God showing over there, being patient, saying, I'm going to just take time to see when are you going to pass that. And don't get me wrong, there's people who take years to pass that lesson. So it's up to you. If you want to learn the lesson, make it hard, or just trust in Jesus and just get to the other level that he wants to just bring you.